Leeds United are in a little bit of a complicated position. A lot of people are looking at the club right now and sort of immediately assuming that they will go straight back down to the Championship again. After all, happened in 23-24, happened in 24-25. Why wouldn't it happen now? However, I've had a little bit of a deep dive into those seasons, and I want to sort of share my findings with you guys, in addition to then taking a look at what Leeds United are doing now, and if I think they will have done enough to survive for next season. And hopefully, we'll find out that the answer is positive. However, before I do so, it'd be massively appreciated if you could subscribe to the channel. I'm approaching 7,000 subscribers, but more importantly, the very funny 6969 subscribers. So if you could do so, that'd be absolutely spectacular. And yeah, also like the video, I suppose. But let's get into it. And I'm going to start with the 23-24 season, because there's a few different reasons that various teams can go down in any given season. And I think 23-24 and 24-25 both display what each of those reasons are in some pretty nice detail. So, first off, the main reason that I'm going to go with is a club that has fairly poor squad standards going into the Premier League. So, specifically, the two examples for this are obviously going to be Luton, who, when they went up, everyone looked at them and went, "Oh, you have to go through a back garden," or something along those lines. And you're going to look at Ipswich. Both of those sides were not fantastic. Ipswich, as an example, had just come up from League One in terms of bolstering themselves for the Championship. Sure, they'd gotten a couple of decent players, but they didn't get anyone that was going to blow a side out of the water. Even in the Championship, a lot of their wins came in the 90-something minute. Luton in a similar situation where they had come up when they seemingly weren't particularly ready for it, and ended up in a little bit of trouble in the Premier League as a result. The following transfer window, they both seemed to look to sort of improve in maybe a sustainable-ish manner. So specifically, Ipswich had an already weak squad, but they tried to bolster that by using mainly Championship-level signings. For example, Liam Delap, who hadn't really played senior football at that point, Jack Clark, who they had signed from Championship Sunderland, Dara O'Shea, Burnley had just come down, Sammy Schmodix from Blackburn, Ogbene from Luton, another example. A lot of the players that they used to reinforce themselves were signed from clubs that weren't of the standard, which meant that they were themselves not of the standard. And to be honest with you, Ipswich might be in a little bit of trouble next season as well, because they have lost Liam Delap, who was their top scorer. Twanzebe's gone, Burgess gone, Luongo gone, Sam Morsey's gone somewhere. They've lost a lot of the players that got them where they are, and I'll be honest, they might need them to stay in the Championship. Luton were in a similar situation where they didn't sign exactly Premier League standard players and went right back down again, which I'm sure they were fine with. But it's risky, and it doesn't scream remaining in the Premier League. The next issue is specifically surrounding like management of a club. So looking at Burnley in 23-24, Sheffield United in the same season, and then Southampton last season. Southampton being one of the best examples. They kept Russell Martin on because fair enough. Russell Martin kept his own tactical style on, which was stupid. And that's a very, very kind way of putting it with how bone dead stupid it was. If you go to the Premier League and you play a tactical style that you've played in the Championship, sure, it's worked out, but you're dominating teams week in, week out in the Championship because you've got better players. When it comes to the Premier League, you're going to be outdone on quality all across the pitch. So if you don't adapt, you die. It's evolution. It's fairly simple. The same happened with Vincent Kompany for Burnley, and the same happened with Heke and then Chris Wilder for Sheffield United, also in the 23-24 season. If you don't make adaptations, you are in trouble in the Premier League. If you assume that whatever got you to the Premier League will keep you there, you've made a mistake already. And that's a bit of a scary one. But we'll get into that in a couple of minutes' time, because there is a final issue, and that is sort of also around transfers and stuff, but it's around Leicester having gotten relegated last season. And it's specifically around club management, but financially. So when they got promoted, you'd imagine, cool, time to build. Let's see where we can go from here. Leicester weren't strictly able to do that. I'm going to go to their all-time transfers for a moment. Might take a second to load. So I was going to pause the recording. No need. When it came to signings, when they got promoted, Oliver Skipp from Spurs, who hadn't really played much senior football, Fatawu, who played a little bit, I suppose, and looked promising, but hasn't really come of anything yet. Jordan Ayew, Bobby Dick-Odoba-Reid, Buonanotte on a loan, sure, decent-ish players, but you've got to look at the losses. They lost Kane and Dewsbury Hall. Iheanacho left. Who else went on a free? Dennis Pratt also left. Tom Cadden left halfway through the season. And they applied pressure to themselves, also losing Maresca through vast losses and financial mismanagement. So for me, the three things Leeds United need to avoid are financial mismanagement, a poor transfer window, and I think we're good on both of those fronts. The 49ers have us covered, and tactical adjustments. Looking at what we've been doing in pre-season so far, I'd say we're covered on that front as well. We've fleshed out the midfield quite a lot, so we can go to that more defensive, passive midfield structure that doesn't risk just being walked through a couple of times a season. I think we're in a good spot. And it might be overly optimistic, but the transfer business we are doing is also excellent. Lucas Perry, I got, again, from completely nowhere, I got a message from a Scum fan earlier who is at DAZN, our French league expert, who saw that we signed Perry and was like, that's kind of ridiculous. That's a big signing. I've had similar conversations with people over Beal and whether we sign Paisha or not, we'll find out. But if that one gets done, we're in a very good spot. So transfer's fine. Financially, we're fine. We don't have to sell anyone right now like Leicester did. It's the tactical thing that's the question mark for me. And I think Daniel Farke's sensible enough to have learned a lesson from his time at Norwich, where he did make the odd tactical adjustment anyway. He just didn't have the funds behind him. And I think we're in a better position than any of those sides that I've mentioned for staying up. And Sunderland, because Sunderland are building from a relatively poor foundation and they are building a heavily AFCONable side that could be in deep trouble in December and January. Burnley have lost some key players. Trafford on the way out. I think Egan Riley also leaving, and they've not got the best of players in. A lot of them have been like mandatory ones, like a Jadon Anthony. Ultimately, I think we are in a fantastic position right now. I feel very good about us staying up, and this might come back to bite me at some point. But I just felt like it was worth doing a video that sort of ran through the myth that promoted teams will always go back down again. Because I think there's very clear reasoning for those teams to have gone down, and I think we're managing to get around those reasons. And hopefully, we end up fine. That was the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, whether or not you think we'll be in a decent enough position to survive. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't yet, that's always massively appreciated, and you can even become a channel member. It's $2.99 a month, and it's just massively appreciated, to be honest with you. You get videos like this one early, it's lovely, and it helps me to actually be able to do the channel more consistently. So, yeah, hope you all enjoyed. I will see you later. Toodaloo.